Hello, and welcome to DDOCast episode 586. I'm your host, Patrick. Welcome back. We've been off for a couple weeks, but we're glad to be back. We're recording this live on January 12th. With me this week, we've got a whole bunch of folks, and this is going to be fun because not only do I have a whole lot of people to introduce, but I clicked on the wrong spot on my screen and just changed everyone's audio all at once. So hopefully this doesn't sound lousy. We're going to just go kind of across the board on a screen that no one else is looking at. Nimvind, say hi.
Hello.
Welcome. We've got Asheras.
Hey, how's it going?
Arkat.
Lava Divers did R5 PN tonight this morning.
It's Project Nemesis. For those who don't know the abbreviation there, well done, guys. Unfortunately, not able to come this week. I'm sure that you guys all had a lot of fun, and it's a good accomplishment. And then Voodoo.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome back. So we got
Thank you.
a great crew here. This week's screenshot. Hey, speaking of the Highlanders of Malk here.
That's me and my guildies.
Yeah, I posed for a guild photo in the Keep on the Borderlands in the 446th screenshot of the week. That's an impressive collection of horses there.
We do what we do.
You know,
are any of those?
we went to the horse dealership.
Do you know if any of those are dice horses?
Yes.
Well, at least a few of them.
I was gonna say because aren't the ones with the ribbon, the ones with the sash, right? That's from the pack, I think. And then
The white one on the left is a dice horse.
yeah, I was gonna say I think the white one is one of the ones. The tan I think you can buy, right? It's like black, tan, something. I don't know. There's too many of them. Hey, can we just mention really quick though that hey SSG, whoever of you is listening, can the dice out of the day or the horses out of the daily dice be not bound to character? Please.
Amen. That's amazing.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize they were. That's terrible.
Yeah.
It actually made the bag make sense from the Keep on the Borderlands bundle. Like, oh, why do I need to hold 600 of one horse? I'm like, oh, because
Actually,
daily
6,
dice.
but...
You know
Well,
what I
hold
mean?
6 different ones, and I don't know how many. Anyways, yeah, there we go. Let's move on. Let's get into the kind of the main meat of the show here. We like to talk about Dungeons and Dragons online nearly every week. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or our website, DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network. Shows are usually available within a few days of recording, and the next show will probably be sometime next weekend. And you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOcast.com, where we also have a calendar, which when it's... I keep saying I'm trying to do a better job of keeping track of it. Yeah. You get what you get. If anyone wants to volunteer their time at DDOcast and take care of the calendar for me, let me know. On the podcast this week, so we got some game news. We took 2 weeks off because there was no game news, amongst other things, and it was the holidays. And when Christmas and New Year's fall on a Wednesday, kind of throws the whole week out of whack, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
But there wasn't really any game news to talk about. We got a little bit to talk about. The main part of the show, probably going to be a 2-week topic. We're going to talk about 2019 in review. We're going to kind of look back at it and kind of see, what we got and how that fit in and all of that fun stuff. So it should be a good show. This is one of my favorite shows to do every year, in part because I know exactly what the show is going to be and I don't have to come up with a topic, and also because it's fun to talk about a whole year at a time. So before we do that, hey, let's talk about some game news. So going into the end of the year, you may have noticed that the weekly restart became a twice-weekly restart. And we got a little bit of information about what was going on there. So Steelstar wrote out that they put in a patch before the holidays that alleviated a significant source of lag. And he reminded us that there is and will never be one single source. This was an issue that caused server crashes if reboots were not handled within a specific time frame. This is why they moved to 2 restarts a week because they needed to alleviate this issue. Since that's no longer a concern, they now need to gather and analyze server performance data with a week between restarts. Something they can't do if you don't have a week between restarts. So that is why going forward they announced that they were going back to once a week restarts. They need to collect the data. That's kind of the idea there. He did say that they're always looking into and working on alleviating sources of lags. When we have specific fixes that they're confident they will have tangible impacts on the game in a state where they're likely to go live, they'll make sure to let us know, as they did with the last major one. Which I'm kind of curious. Was that this one, or was that something else? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure what he's referring to there.
I'm not sure he knows what he's referring to there.
I mean, that's fair, right? Like, what do they call major? Right?
Yeah.
What's the threshold there? I don't know. The performance has seemed to be better since the holidays, I think. A few moments exception, but
I'd agree. I think there's still the regular bad spots, but
Yeah. Like I noticed when we were doing 2 times a week, like somewhere during that or just before it like they'll do a restart and it'll be good for like a day and a half, and then it'll just be like it's just like an empty garbage can. They empty it and then all of a sudden it's just filled with trash again and we have to empty it again. You know, like so it's getting better.
yeah, I kind of wonder what because we've been doing weekly restarts for a while, and it surely seems to be helping things. Kind of wonder, why do we now need to do weekly restarts when we didn't before? But I don't know, and I don't know. My knowledge of code is laughably small, so.
I remember hearing something about their physics engine kind of being batted down, and that so like I feel like a lot of their systems is just being
Sure.
weighed down, and they just kind of need to take a pail of water and like empty it out of the boat instead of just. It sounds like it would probably take the game down a little bit longer if they just want to clean the whole system out of whatever's going on in there.
Yeah, I don't know. And to a certain extent, we probably will never really know, and we may never actually want to know. You ever get coming from a theater perspective, like sometimes I feel like a game like this, like there's a facade that we see, right? Like you're looking at the scenery, and if you actually got to look behind it, you would suddenly become aware of how flimsy the framing is, and how it's like. From the front, it looks great, and from the back, it's like this teetering house of cards waiting to fall down. You may not actually want to know how close it is to disaster, kind of a thing. But
We could probably make a new Matrix movie about it.
Sure. I know I've sort of pseudolily been waiting. This is completely off the rails now, but I've pseudolily been waiting for someone to like create this running web series just using DDO as animation or something like that. But
I was actually working on that.
oh yeah, chop. Let's talk about some other stuff. We got a little more information about update 45. Kind of a preview of the preview per se. So this was on the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream, which featured StremTom, who I was hoping it would be able to make this show, but he wasn't able to do it. But I do just want to take a moment and say congratulations to StremTom for receiving an award from SSG.
Oh, that award was awesome.
The most watched DDO video of the year. Well deserved. I also liked his reaction of every time we got to talk about this. Yes, StremTom, every time we have to talk about this because it was hilarious. Anyways, so some stuff that they talked about. Lamani is coming soon for update 45.
Wait, I just gotta know. Was it this video?
Yes.
Yes.
It was the laser video, yes.
They even posted a screenshot. They transferred it onto the certificate in the upper right hand corner of their certificate of him with that face. It was just
That
perfect.
was great.
I mean, I think if you're gonna make a list of the best DDO video, like that's like top 3 at least.
Oh yeah.
Of all time, maybe top of the list. Anyways, back to the rest of the video. So talking about a couple things. Update 45. Let's talk about that for a minute. It should be coming soon on the Mania. Kind of sounded like I kind of reading between the lines. Probably not this week, but maybe the week after, or the week after that, but soonish. So some stuff that's slated to be in Update 45. There is an update to Night of the Chalice. So some of the highlights for the stuff that I pulled out from what Steelstar was talking about was they want to do some support for ranged, similar to War Priest and War Soul, which includes ranged version of attacks and a ranged version of Smite Evil, which I think will be great for Paladins. They also kind of recognized that there's some lower stuff in the tree that you really need abilities that you can't get until later, and like feats and other aspects of Paladin. So some of that stuff was kind of moved into cores, or moved higher in the tree, so you're not taking things that you can't really utilize before them. They're doing some work on deities, so this is kind of across the board with deities. So right now you have you pick a deity, right? There's a bunch of different options, and then that gives you bonuses to a specific type of weapon. And then there's successive feats that give you more bonuses to specific types of weapon. So what they're going to do is they're basically you're still going to have different deity feats, but you get the bonuses to all favored weapons. So it's not going to be unique to one deity or another, right? So you pick a deity, which will impact kind of some other choices you can make, but not your favored weapons. And the idea there is to make it to give you more options in that respect. They're also working on making. It doesn't sound like it's going to come out with this, but they're also working on making the level 6 feat that gives you your special ability a single feat. And the reason why they want to do that is because combine that with this other change, that would mean that to change your deity, you only have to change one feat. Right now, you have to change a bunch of feats to change your deity. So it makes it a lot harder to do that, and they want to make that an easier experience. They also mentioned that Dwarven Axe there'll be an option in the Dwarf tree to make Dwarven Axe a favored weapon. Suspect you may see some more of that kind of for other races as time goes on. And it sounds like Knight of the Chalice will also get Knight's Training for free. Paladins being kind of a feat-starved class, that's kind of what they're looking at there. And there's also talk about having a two-handed fighting buff. So what that is specifically, they haven't really said, but they are looking to increase the damage output of two-handed fighting. And then lastly, they are looking at reducing the effectiveness of Inquisitives. But they didn't really give us they didn't give us a really good idea of what that's going to look like. Steelstar did say that they could have slapped out a harsh change much earlier on this one, but they wanted to take the time to figure out what their earlier work missed and why, and then looking at the bigger picture, start constructing solutions. So that's kind of the stuff that we know about Update 45 coming up. What do you guys think?
I think they're going to muck up the nerfs to
Inquisitive?
To Inquisitive, and this is now Inquisitive. There's two things that Inquisitive really do that I think people consider overperforming. They fire, they do too much damage. They damage themselves. A lot of law damage and so forth. So there's that, and then there's the speed at which they do damage. They include what's that thing that they get that they fires like a machine gun for 18 seconds. It's similar to the Artificer one.
Except you're
So
firing
those
twice,
are the
twice for every
yes,
shot.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so I think there's they've got to address it in one of two ways or both ways. I don't know what they're going to do, but if they make the damage less, my fear is that they're going to hurt not just the inquisitive ranged meta, but the ranged meta of all ranged characters. They're gonna reduce the range damage in general, which will hurt bow users. It'll hurt throne users. I just feel like that they're going to use a sledgehammer on this instead of a scalpel.
Just saying something along the lines of you're concerned that they might make a global change to say
Yes.
Reaper that says range damage as a whole gets penalized as opposed to adjusting damage on the Inquisitive itself.
Yes. Yeah, like by maybe reducing the number of law damage dice. I mean, that would be you reduce that a bit, and that's a very specific, nerf to Inquisitive. That would seem to make more sense to me than an overall nerf to range damage.
Or perhaps something also like a reduction of sneak attack damage, or a reduction of the base weapon damage since you get it twice, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Sure.
I think that there's three because if you look at the Inquisitive tree, there's actually there's three things that goes into making their DPS uniquely theirs, and that's of course dual wielding. A lot of the other stuff you can get in other trees, like the endless fusillade as mentioned before and all that. So the dual wielding, effectively you're using one crossbow, but you're dual wielding. So that actually so there's a blanket double shot share, for instance. So there's the double shot, the firing rate, and the law damage. And I feel like if they're going to specifically target Inquisitive's DPS, they would have to do something with either one of those things. I really hope that they don't try to affect range power or something like drastic like that. But I really would like to see them kind of do something with the double shot aspect of dual wielding crossbows.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think there's a clear need to do it, and a lot of players have said earlier than SSG, I think, caught on that Inquisitive is a bit much. But we'll see. Hopefully, don't get too crazy with it. We did get a little more information about Update 45. It does not have a new adventure pack in it, but it does add higher level options to 2 existing adventure packs. Interesting.
Does that mean they're going to epify, an old pack that doesn't have an epic versions of the quest?
Yep.
That would be my expectation.
That's my guess too.
I'm really curious as to which ones.
Yeah, me too.
It kind of I actually was having this good discussion in my live stream last week at twitch.tv/Nimvind.
Nice.
Plugs are at the end, dude.
He slid that in really nice.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking it would be interesting since if they would do 2, it would be like Threno and Delaris. But I was like, how are they gonna? They would have to recycle the DM voice because like those DMs don't exist.
Yeah, those would be 2. I think those would be 2 good packs to epify. It would be nice if while they were doing it, they cleaned up the quest progression of Threnel a little bit.
Yeah.
Please.
Make it easier.
Yeah. But I think that'd be a good option. I'm trying to think of
Legendary Rat Catcher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm what would legendary a legendary voice look like? Or legendary
10%?
Like I don't know.
5.5%.
I
That'd be
doubt
nice.
they would probably just put other stuff on there, right?
Yeah, there you go.
But I think I like those two, right? Catacombs is another pack that kind of comes to mind. But
CO6.
CO6 maybe.
CO6 would be good.
I kind of doubt that they would do Catacombs though, because it's part of the starter pack, and if you add value, usually what happens is the cost of that pack will go up. So I'm not sure that they would want to add value. They'd have to increase the starter pack, but they probably wouldn't want to do that. I think like Waterworks and SDK don't. I don't know. They don't feel like good packs to epify. So
No.
I think you start running out of is that Reaver's Refuge maybe?
Necro maybe.
I think if they did Reaver's Refuge, they should do, because like you know where Epic Orchard is, like where it's just still epic, not quite legendary, but it's like just kissing it. Like I would, that would make sense if they did that with Shavrath and Reaver's Refuge.
Shavrath could be another good one. Yeah, we'll have to see.
Epic Tower of Despair would be amazing.
It doesn't have to need to be legendary.
Yeah, legendary.
Yeah, I would not be opposed to that for sure. Although I think you could kind of make an argument that it probably wouldn't work very well with that. Defiler of the Just is sort of like the epic version of that, right? Because it's the same mobs,
True.
Same monster selection. So, anyways, there you go. That's what we got for news. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe the Stormreach, the Sultan Stormreach packs are kind of in that vein. Inspired Quarter,
Lord's March Plaza stuff.
Yeah. I really like the Delira's Threnal thought though. That feels like a good place to epify some stuff, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it makes sense since they said 2, right?
Sure.
You know, the attack on Stormreach stuff kind of makes sense because they just reused that crafting system. So it would make sense that they might want to like tweak it a little bit.
When did we reuse that crafting system?
The Touch of Madness, which is on the update 38 gear.
That's right. Yeah.
That's true.
Isn't that that's the
Harbinger
Madness stuff, not Lord's March Plaza?
Oh, you're right. I'll go back to sleep.
We're not talking about caster stuff yet. Go away. Bonus days. Through today, January 12th, you can get +5 Reaper XP. And then the store news. To advance your alt weekend, so 20% off of Tomes of Learning, select low-level adventure packs, +2 ability tomes and character slots through January 16th. You can also get 5 protection from evil potions, +2 with the coupon code EvilBeGone. Community news. I thought Jerry said that there was going to be a Chronicle this week, but I didn't see one. We haven't had Chronicle in weeks because of the holidays and things and whatnot. However, the High Lords of Malkir, hey, your teaching raids are back. Voodoo,
yep, just started last night.
Wake up, Voodoo. Tell us a little bit about the teaching raids. What's coming up? Where can people find out more information about this stuff?
So every year since 2014, so this is our 7th year, through the winter and spring, we host teaching raids for people who are new to raids. And so these events are especially designed for folks maybe who are new to the game, you're just getting into raiding, or maybe even you're a longtime veteran, but you're just now getting into raiding, or maybe you're just new to whatever raid we're doing that week. Like any and all are welcome if you're brand new to or still learning a raid, because there's a lot of raids you could do a few times and still not have a good grasp on it. And so we TC raids in like a real low stress learning environment where we explain all the different facets of the raids. I always bring a handful of my guildies to make sure it's nice and smooth, and we'll have a handful of newbies in there too. It's going to be every Saturday. Details in the Sarlona forum. Like I said, different raid every week, and every Monday or so I'll post the details on what raid or raids we're doing that week. So if you're interested in getting involved in raiding or learning some raids that you don't know and you're on Sarlona, please join us. If you're not on Sarlona, we will be live streaming those events on my Twitch channel, and you can watch and learn and ask questions live right along with us.
And also on your YouTube page, right? You'll post them there.
Actually, not posting on the YouTube, just live
Okay.
streaming on the Twitch. We do have older teaching raid videos
Sure.
on my YouTube machine, and that's a resource for all. Actually, in the guides and strategies forum, there's a post where I have listed like a teaching raid video for like every raid in the game except for Project Nemesis, because that's pretty new and that's coming soon. So if you're looking for that kind of resource, it's right there in the DDO forums in the guides and strategies forum.
Oh, but if you do want to find a video to teach you how to do Project Nemesis, you might want to look up me on YouTube.
Oh, here comes another plug.
If you want to watch the hard version of that, you can check out the Lava Divers videos from. I posted one from when we did R4. I mean, we died a lot, but you can see what to expect. It reminds me, actually, Voodoo, we need to touch base after the show about some new strategies on Project Nemesis. Voodoo and I pretty much always hook up as well. If you look back at the DDOcast shows, we talk about the raids, and kind of give a guide and some thoughts on some of that stuff. But particularly one of the really nice things about Project Nemesis, and this is kind of spoiler for later, is that the way that it's designed, it really lends itself well to adjusting your strategies and kind of tweaking your strategy, because there's a lot of choices you can make that functionally change how the raid kind of feels and progresses and goes. So there's a lot of kind of neat ways that you can tweak that strategy. But we do DDOcast also. We do a kind of a light tutorial intro to the different raids and kind of what to expect, and kind of some strategies to help you get through. And then of course, those strategies change over time as we try to do higher difficulties and people learn new tricks and stuff. So
it's the beautiful thing about DDO. Like I remember just how Chronoscope strategy evolved in the years back. Like we always figured it out. Watch out, SSG. We got strategy.
Yeah, unfortunately, Too Hot strategies hasn't really evolved very much, because the barrier there seems to mostly be, here's a whole bunch of incoming damage, die, or don't. Anyways, other news, community news. D&D night on DDO stream every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. This week tonight we'll be having Stormreach Chronicles, which is my 5th edition adaptation of DDO. If you want to see how long you can make Korthos Island quest take, watch this.
I really like that Warforged character.
Also, DDO Kasplat will be back soon. We won't be going every week for a while, just because of the way things go in life. And then we'll have a couple months off, and then we'll be back probably more regularly for season 6. And then the other thing to mention, hey, if you're interested in working at SSG, they're hiring a release engineer. So we'll link that in the show notes if that's something you are interested in doing. So there you go.
What is that?
A release
engineer? What is a release? Yeah, what is that?
A release engineer is a DevOps role that is responsible for working with QA, the actual developers writing the code, and operations to ensure that there's quality within the release process, and it tracks all the different programming threads that are coming into that, and making sure that basically it's a fancy version control sort of process.
So if you could do that, go and apply.
There you go. Glad someone here knows what all that stuff means.
It's actually really good to see, because it's a more mature development process to incorporate release engineering in there. A lot of folks, especially when they're doing agile stuff, will move too quickly from development into production. So release engineering really ensures quality at that phase. I like it.
Yay.
Maturity.
A small studio like SSG, it can easily be one of those places where people wear a lot of hats. And if this is not replacing someone, it could easily have been something that, say, Koko Majoba was doing before he became an associate producer. So now they're hiring someone to backfill that position or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's also good to see. SSG hiring someone. The devs often, or not often, but they will occasionally say, "Hey, DDO and Lotro are doing great. We expect to be here for a long time." This is kind of more concrete evidence of that, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're hiring people. If they were saying that and it was like SSG lays off half of its staff, we would be very sad for those people. And also, it would not be great news for the longevity of the game. Thankfully, we're not seeing that. So, all right. Well, let's jump into our 2019 review. So we're gonna go back through the year and kind of talk about the various stuff that we got and how it's impacted our play and the game, and thumbs up, thumbs down, all that kind of fun stuff. And we're gonna start. I'm gonna cheat just a little bit because we're actually gonna start at update 41, which was released December 5th of 2018, which is a little bit before 2019, obviously, but this kind of gives it a little bit more time to get in there. Also, update 42 actually didn't drop until May. So if you just want to count updates, we actually only got 3 updates this year. One of which was an expansion. And boy, I'll tell you guys, like, it didn't feel like we got only 3 updates this year.
Oh no, this was an action-packed year.
It felt like we got a lot more than that.
I'm
going to go ahead and disagree with you on that one.
Sure,
Because I
please
do
do.
remember the beginning of the year thinking, man, if
is
the
Sharn coming?
price, if the price of us getting an expansion is waiting this long for something new to come out, I'm not sure I'm in. But in
Sure.
retrospect, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but I was
No,
pleased
you're
with
fine.
how it turned out.
I got a lot of past lives done before that.
And they gave us more too. We'll talk about that. But even then, like, update 41, we got one quest, Lost at Sea, which was kind of the Sharn teaser. So you didn't get a whole lot there. Which is a fine quest. I don't mind. I still kind of generally run it on epics once for Reaper XP in a life. But it's kind of short. But you look at the year
It's a
as
great daily.
Yeah. You look at the year as a whole, right? So we've got Sharn, which is, I should have counted beforehand, 8 Cogs quest and 9 story arc quests.
Yep.
Sounds right. So there's 17 quests. The Soul Splitter pack, which is 5.
6.
6? Okay. And
Yeah, that's right.
Keep on the Borderlands, which is 8.
8.
So what is
Shorter,
that?
though.
31. 31 new quests plus
That's bonkers.
plus 2 raids. That to me feels like, I didn't actually go back and look at this for previous years, but that's more quests than we usually get, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're condensed. We don't usually get it.
Yeah.
Usually, an expansion has a bunch of quests. Sharn was pretty comparable to Ravenloft in terms of number of quests. But Keep on the Borderlands, the number of quests we got there was kind of like getting 2 packs in one. Is usually, even Soul Splitter was kind of a big pack at 6. Usually we get like 4 or 5 quests. And there's also
Well, to play devil's advocate here, to play to the other side,
Sure.
the quests that we got, the large majority of them were pretty short.
They were.
So,
Yeah.
A little
and you know what? And I
surprisingly,
think that was a good thing, though. I actually like the shorter quests over
Yeah.
the longer slogs.
I do too.
Yeah.
And what's nice is that they were short, and they're short and legendary too. So that really is nice for those Reaper XP lovers.
Yeah. They nerfed Amber Temple, which we'll talk about a little bit, but they also gave us. They didn't just kind of make Amber Temple harder to farm for Reaper XP, but they gave you a lot of other options to farm for Reaper XP, which personally I think is much better. Just from I find the game much more enjoyable when I'm playing different quests. I can only run the same quest in a row 4 or 5 times before I'm like, nope, done. Let's do something else. This is no longer fun. And at that point, if you're still doing it, then it kind of feels like work, and then you kind of get into burnout and leave the game kind of stages, right? So, but yeah, so we only got 3 updates, but we got 31 quests, and I don't know, maybe it's just kind of my sense of how things go from year to year, but it kind of feels like what would normally have been updates of like, here's these other features in the game that aren't content related, got released as patches as opposed to more updates. Because we had 5 patches to update 41. And not all of that stuff, so some of the stuff that came out of in the patches were new favor rewards, another feat, Inquisitive, Tiefling, and Scoundrel all came out as a patch, not as an update, although they were tied to Sharn.
Wasn't the revamp to like Reaper and XP also a patch?
It was in a different, that was a patch to update 42, but yes, that stuff all also came out as patches and stuff, I think. Maybe not that one, I don't remember. Something gets a little fuzzy. But anyway, so there's a lot of stuff that kind of came out in that time frame. But let's, anyone else want to say anything kind of big picture before we kind of focus in a little bit? Okay, so update 41. So some highlights here. We got Lost at Sea, Bard song changes. Can you believe that was a year ago?
No,
Right? The Eldritch Night Pass, to change that. The changes to raids, right? So this is where we got Threads of Fate. They kind of reorganized raids and tiered them along with raid loot. And we got raid runes for all of the legendary raids. I think we could all agree, please, we would love to see raid runes expand to the other raids. Not that we really run them, but hey, that would be nice.
Yep.
Spell passes, so we got new level 1 spells, new level 9 spells, and they kind of tweaked the damage on a bunch of spells. Seasons pass, we already mentioned the new favor rewards. Knight's Training came out in here. Mentioned Inquisitive, Tiefling, Scoundrel. I'll give a shout out to the Ravenloft bundle cosmetics becoming bound to account. That was nice. And they also did some work to prevent item loss during reincarnation. That's kind of an overview of what came out from update 41, which was essentially, we're talking about stuff from December into, I think, April-ish of the year.
A lot of quality of life changes there.
Mm-hmm.
The raid runes, for example. I mean, that it just makes things so much easier. It makes, at least, I don't want to say easier, but you at least feel like you're making progress towards getting that raid item if you're not lucky enough to have a drop for you or win a roll on it.
Was the threads included with the raid rune thing?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. This is also where I think sorcerers started to become a lot more viable, which has been nice to see.
But I don't think they actually made a change to Sork. They just added Tiefling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The spell pass was helpful though too.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, during the spell pass, they mentioned that they were, along with Pellmaster, were going to do a Savant pass to change some of the slots at the lower level. I'm assuming to put in the bolts, the firebolt and all that, but that never happened. But Tiefling,
You just muted yourself.
oh yeah, Tiefling, was huge for Sorks.
Sure.
I wouldn't know. I've never played a tiefling, and I don't think I'm gonna.
Oh, they're fun.
Eh.
They definitely have some interesting mechanics in there.
The tails, the tails are still the turn off.
I feel like
Yeah.
Oh,
cosmetically they
they
are
did a
kind of
beautiful job.
really. I feel like the cosmetics in Tiefling are a little disappointing. The tail is fine for me. The horns kind of bug me.
Yeah.
I don't
agree.
like that we don't have a hornlet option.
Like a small
I,
horn or no
Little
horns.
buds or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
You know,
Or
you
they're
got to
from
go
the
with bigger
NPCs.
horns.
Yeah, the NPCs have those for some reason, but we don't get them.
Yeah.
I have this weird thing where like if I see other people play Tiefling, I'm like, oh, Tieflings are so cool, and then when I play them, aesthetically they get kind of dull, and I just don't want to do it no more.
The horns is what I can't get past on a Tiefling because they pretty much all to me look like you slapped a thing on a forehead of a avatar, right? Like they just don't fit very seamlessly to me.
I can see that.
The haircuts that you can buy on the DDO store also like if you do the untied with the little bangs, it goes over so like it looks like you have this big jutting forehead behind your bangs and stuff. Like aesthetically they could have I think it's great. It's great. They did account for your cosmetics that you bought in expansions. Like you can actually wear the hat from the Vampire Slayer thing, and it'll curl up. Like that's great that they accounted for that, but they didn't. I don't feel like they accounted for everything aesthetically for Tiefling, and
No.
like what you want. Like you can't ask for everything. I mean, like, but um, I just I'm grateful but ungrateful at the same time. That's the best way to describe it.
Sure.
And I'm pretty disappointed in the Obscuring Darkness line. I feel like it's clunky and just not as effective as I would like it to be, and it's just a total waste of time. I'd like to see that turn into an aura instead of this clunky thing that you slowly cast on the ground that stays in one place.
I also still like people tell me Hellish Rebuke works. I still don't think it works enough for me to notice.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's not very much. It does work. It's just not very much. So that's another disappointment. Is the line on the left and right, the Hellish Rebuke and the Obscuring Darkness is just, to me, a waste.
Let me ask this question: do you guys feel like Tiefling fits well within the other races in terms like it's not? Because to me, it doesn't feel like it's super standout-ish or like underpowered.
I feel like if I feel like it earns it's definitely a race that earns its job of being called a race. Like dwarfs, a racial tree obviously has it's pandering to. So does tiefling. So like just like elves can get they have their whole thing, right?
There's definitely some races that work better with build archetypes than others.
Yeah, and I feel like
Sure.
tiefling definitely gets there. Right now I'm on doing my final build and I'm testing out races, and of course it's a swashbuckling war chanter bard, right? And I'm the more and more races I try, the more I'm realizing that Tiefling Scoundrel is perfect for it. So like so the race obviously has a part in the meta. Just it's not like Asimar where it's just like, oh yeah, just play Asimar and you're good at everything.
Asimar is definitely kind of the outlier, right? I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
it's too much of an outlier, but it's definitely seems like it's at the top of that pool of races.
It is, yeah, especially on the melee side or even on the divine side. It's got a lot of benefits. But
Yeah.
I think the Scoundrel would be more interesting if the Bard stuff had held on more. Looking at in this update, what's kind of still interesting at this point in 2020. To me, it's the raid changes and the spell pass and the EK changes all have a lot of value, and Knight's training as well. I'm not so sure. Obviously, Inquisitive has
Sure.
a ton of value right now. I'm not sure that the Tiefling race or the Scoundrel race has held on quite as strong though.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely some. I would say the raid changes is probably the thing that impacts my playing the most, just because it definitely. I mean, raid runes do two things really well for you. one, it lets you play alts and keep working toward. It doesn't matter what character you play, you're working towards completions to get an item. So when we're doing things that, as we do harder raids and when I'm playing in a guild that raids, if I need to be a healer, I can be a healer. If I need to be melee DPS or whatever, I can do that right now, right? So that's just so nice to be able to kind of swap in whatever I need to play to be better in a group. I can do that. But also from a reincarnation standpoint, right? There's this idea that, I don't have to get 20 completions on a character before I reincarnate.
Yeah.
And I'm not losing anything there, right? It's so nice.
I think it's to the point where like we kind of have to tell new players, oh yeah, back in the day you have to get 20 completions to get a list of named items. Like it feels like that's kind of like an OG system now. Like the scroll shard seals, like you actually have to tell people about it, and they're like, oh really, that was a thing.
Mm-hmm. Someone in the chat is mentioning, Titan Jr.'s mentioning that he, on an ASMR, he's getting up to a max of 140 strength. Sure. You're getting some of that strength from ASMR, but I don't, like, it's definitely, like I said, ASMR is kind of, I think, on the top of the race pile. I would say, though, that if you're pulling 10 strength out of there, that's impressive. I haven't looked at how you would do that. But I think the healing hands is what's going to be kind of more in terms of impacting across the board, if that makes sense.
No matter what variant of Asmar you choose in the heroic side, because Asmar Scourge is its own beast when it comes to two-weapon fighting, but more hit points from the protector and more charisma, or more double strike and more strength from the fallen. Like either one is going to provide a huge boon to any build. It's so good with pretty much anything. Like, oh, I'm a turning cleric. Oh, Asimar. I'm a monk. Oh, Asimar. I'm a this. Like, Asimar is just so good for such a generic,
Yep.
Grouping. It's just good. You can't put Asimar in a build and be like, oh wow, I wouldn't have chose Asimar. Like, you don't hear that.
True, but it's not. I don't think it's breaking things either.
It ain't. It's probably a perfect example of a game addition to the game.
Whereas you look at Inquisitive, and Inquisitive, any class can be Inquisitive, and any class will. We were actually joking in my guild a little bit of we were talking about this idea of, if you're going to be in a raiding guild, it's really beneficial for a single player to be able to have a DPS option, a healing option, and either a tank or DC caster kind of option, or all four, if you can do all four. And maybe not to do like really high level stuff, but we were kind of talking about, like, in the terms of for what our guild is and where it is and kind of what we do. If everyone had those options for like Reaper 1 for any given raid, other than 2 out to handle, you'd be in a really great place as a raiding guild. And
absolutely.
And then there's well, that's a lot of work. I'm like, is it though? I mean, just roll up an Inquisitive and you've got a Reaper 1 capable DPS character, right? When you start talking about it like that, then you start to get into a little bit of game breaking stuff, right? So, which is why they're looking at nerfing Inquisitive.
Wait, were we talking about Tiefling originally?
Yes,
we were.
I'd like to bring the discussion back to Tiefling. Would be
Sure.
nice. I mean, Nimvind made a point that ASMR seemed to be fits the meta in just about any kind of role, and it would be nice if they would make Tiefling gel with with a few archetype or a few classes especially well, like for example Warlock. I would love to see Tiefling do very, very well as a Warlock, but I just don't get the impression that Tiefling does well, particularly at anything. So it would be
I'm trying
nice
to
if they
think,
made
'cause I'm
things, gel a little more with some of the classes.
my current lives are a tiefling warlock.
I agree with Arkat though. Like for an example of races or iconics that were introduced to an expansion, like for instance, iconics was an expansion thing. Asmar Scourge was an expansion thing, and within Tieflings tied to Sharn, and it felt like they were a little bit too niche. You know what I mean? Like it didn't follow the formula, and maybe they were SSG was looking at the meta and they're like, well, we can't do another Asimar, or you know what I mean, or it's just gonna it's just gonna be Tiefling and Asmar only.
I actually kind of wonder if there's if they came in from a different perspective, because when I look at Tiefling and I look at that tree, and Voodoo, you kind of touched on this a little bit. The what is it, the aura thing that you cast on the ground?
Obscuring darkness.
Yeah, like that's a big part of that tree, right? Like isn't that like a 3-tiered thing?
It's I think it's all the way to the top.
4,
yeah, it's like
yeah.
4 or 5. Yeah,
and that's a major part of that tree.
and it totally falls flat.
Yeah, it doesn't play well, right? It doesn't play very well. When you look at the Asimar tree as a comparison, the stuff that it's getting, it's getting healing hands, which, I mean, self-heal, great. Like, there's so many builds that's fantastic for, that don't have great healing otherwise. Plus, you've got, instead of having that line, you've got things like healing amplification and things that are just more generally useful and playable, and you don't have to fire, right? Like we're talking about with Tiefling, an ability that you have to fire that doesn't play well. And I think maybe that's where the disconnect is on Tiefling and why Tiefling isn't something that got way up high really fast.
Yeah, that ability, I've gotten a couple of discussions over Obscuring Darkness, and I'm like, oh, it might be good in raids where it's very stationary, like the casters are here, the tank is there, and you can put it in where the casters are going to be and they get the benefit. But really, it's only in situations. Exactly. There's no stationary. Like you can't just put it on the ground and be like, yeah, we're saved. No, there's no situation where
too
these.
hot to handle. You stay in, the tank's there, the group's there.
But like, but in Too Hot to Handle, if any hair gets loose, people are jumping around.
Yeah.
No, there's no situation where Obscuring Darkness is gonna save the day or improve the day, because if any numerical goes off the plan, everyone's running around, everyone's jumping around, and most likely the person that put it down is going to be the one that's not even getting any of the benefit at all, because they're going to be jumping around the first. Tieflings always run.
Everybody run, like even melee, right? Like you don't just stand still.
Well,
yeah,
it's just, I'm not sure if it's just me, but I feel like too, a lot of those sort of things can have a component in lag, and in a raid like Too Hot to Handle, that's the last thing you want, is more of that.
Yeah, more animation, that animation of smoldering, the particle effect, that could be a drag.
To round it out, I'm going to come at it from a little bit different angle. I'm going to say that I do appreciate that there is some universal beneficial stuff in Tiefling. Like, if you're just trying to do your Tiefling lives, you got some saves there. You got some MRR. That's good stuff. You got Wand and Scroll Mastery. I'm a big fan of Wand and Scroll Mastery during Heroic Reaper play. So I really like that stuff that's in there. And I also will say that, from like a flavor or RPG perspective, remember, this is a role-playing game, that Tiefling is just wonderful. I love the flavor add of it.
Sure. Wait, are we supposed to be role-playing in this game?
Some people do.
Some people like to, and I, while I'm not a big role player, I do appreciate, I love the flavor of Tiefling.
You know what's interesting is Tiefling and Eberron, they come from the demonic waste. That they're actually the barbaric creatures of Eberron. And it's an interesting spin, because like usually you think half orc, half orc me, half orc. No, actually half orcs are pretty civilized compared to Tieflings and Eberron.
I want to move on from Tiefling, but I would say that my general experience with Tiefling, a year removed, is it plays like most of the other races. I don't spend a lot of points in the tree. I get the pluses for the stats at the beginning, and that's about as far as I go with it. Like, it doesn't. Other than that, it doesn't really seem to impact my play very much for my enhancement point choices. Like, about the only races that really do are Warforged and ASMR. As a general rule of thumb, those are the only 2 races I find myself really spending points that I could otherwise spend in other trees in their tree. So.
Which for me, like, just to add on to here, is like it's a premium race. Like that shouldn't be the case for premium content.
Like I said, other than ASMR and Warforged, like there's not a race that I find myself consistently putting points into. You know, my final tank build, if I ever get there, will probably be Dwarf just for the extra hit points that, you know. But other than that, even that's kind of a question mark still. So I don't know. The one thing we haven't talked about that I do want to kind of touch on is the Seasons Pass, which came out the end of last year with update 41. I'm not sure how much we need to talk about it, but we're a year into that, a little over a year into that. For those of you who are Season Pass, how do you feel about it a year removed?
Is that the year-long VIP?
2 years. 2 years of VIP plus a gold roll every day, plus I think a couple other things that I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, that's interesting because okay, so all right, so that's a different thing. Okay.
It is you. I mean, you also automatically get not expansion content with it.
That's right.
Which
And a cool
Ownership.
cosmetic.
Yeah. Which is kind of
I like it.
questionable given the year we've had, right? Like, you didn't get Sharn, so you got Soul Splitter and Keep on the Borderlands. But we've kind of already discussed that's more or less feels like the same number of quests that we might gotten anyways without an expansion, give or take.
Personally, I'm jealous. I really went crazy trying to get the money for that. I really like that they did that. I hope they I hope the next release I have like an amazing job or something. I like it. I think the stuff like that is very smart. I've seen a couple of their newer bundles that they release or box sets that they came out with, and
The White Plume
compared
pack
to
and the Keep on the Borderlands pack, you mean?
I'm talking about like the autos weapon thing and all that.
Sure.
Like
Okay. Yeah.
compared to that to the packs that they were releasing with the season pass and all that. That is beautiful. Season pass is beautiful. I really like what they did there, and I like that they're not just constantly pumping it out either. It's a good. I think it was good. It's good for the economy of SSG, and it was good for the players.
I'll tell you, I listened to the Last Damsels podcast, and Saba Jade kept very meticulous notes about what she got from her gold rolls. I did not, but I'm pretty darn sure she did a lot better on her rolls than I did. All the cool stuff I got was on servers that I don't play on, so.
That's why you transfer those characters over.
Eventually.
That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, eventually. We'll get there. But I didn't, I definitely got a bound to character horse on a character that doesn't need a horse for any stretch of the imagination, so.
Same here. I have one on Wayfinder now.
I think that's where mine is, actually.
You know what's funny is that because it's not equipment, you can't do that thing where you can trade it off and make it bound.
Yep. All right, let's what are we doing here? Yeah, we'll talk about update 42. So this came out in May, and kind of took us through August, and the start of Hardcore League. So update 42 was Sharn. So here's kind of some stuff that came out during this time frame. We got minor artifacts, and the Amber Temple got nerfed. Or would it be more accurate to say Amber Temple got buffed? I'm not sure which.
Oh, some of the devs would say that, but
yeah.
I'm going to say nerfed.
The player experience of Amber Temple and how fast you could run it got nerfed. We'll go with that. This is where we got the pass to Reaper mode. So this gave us new Reapers. They tweaked a bunch of the numbers involved. There were like 12, 14 points that they kind of said this is what's changing. But it was a big change in Reaper mode. There was also at the same time, this is where we got the experience pass. This is where Reaper. So one of the things with Reaper and experience is Reaper XP no longer got penalized for until you're 3 levels above the quest, or 4 levels above the quest. So there's more of a range of when you in Heroics when you wouldn't get penalized for Reaper XP in Reaper mode. They did away with the bravery streak, which can we just all agree with? Yay, thank you. And some other stuff with kind of they adjusted some quests for experience and kind of all that stuff. This is also where we got the change to how optional XP works and how that also ransacks. We got the Epic Destiny Pass and new Epic Pass lives. This would include where Everything is Nothing got nerfed. Pale Master also got a pass, and then Hardcore League, which we'll talk about at the end. I don't want to jump too much into that at this point, but so that was kind of high level. That's what we got with Update 42. I think maybe I'm just gonna kick things off here and say, the Experience Pass and Reaper Mode Pass has made, at least for me, feels like TRing is a much more pleasant experience, a lot more fun and more balanced, and just kind of made, even with the optional thing, which was never really a concern for me because I don't tend to rerun quests that much. I don't know. I just really kind of came out of that experience really liking it. I do appreciate that. That I like the new Reapers. I like how they changed that. So that was kind of my experience out of that stuff. What do you guys think?
I labeled this the whole new meta. Like, I feel like it changed the game, not too much, but enough for it to just be like a slightly new era in the game.
Which, by the way, side note, they did that intentionally going into Hardcore League. That was an intentional choice. That was part of why they did it when they did it, was to change the meta going into Hardcore League, so to make people kind of think about a little bit more about how they were going to do some of that stuff.
Which is brilliant. I noticed that too. I actually the list of quests that they changed, whether it was up or down the XP, was huge. It wasn't just like a small list of quests. The new Reaper XP thing, where you can do in Heroic, you can do a quest like 3 levels above and still keep the Reaper XP, but you lose your bravery bonus and all that. Like, it's
somewhat. You get 50% less XP doing it at 3 levels than you would at 2 levels above. So the Reaper bonus not the Reaper bonus, the bravery XP bonus or whatever, if you're at +2 is plus 100%, then plus at levels 3 higher it's plus 50%. So.
Well, I think it was really cool.
Yeah.
The biggest change that I felt like a lot of people whined about was the optional ransacking, which I, like you, I was like, whatever, right? Because like I never popcorn farmed optionals at all, but I guess a lot of people did. Like, it was a huge uproar. A lot of people were like, it ruined the game, and I'm like, really? Like, because really they stated they wanted you to run different content. That's why a lot of Quest XP got changed. They wanted you to varietize your run. And this is great because, like, people that's been around the game for like a couple years, like I've been playing for almost 10 years now. Now, going 1 to 20 is a whole new world, and because they made these little changes. Like, now I'm running quests. Like, I did Scoundrels Run today. I only ran that quest like 6 times in the 9+ years I've been playing this game.
I mean, I don't feel like it really
nice.
changed what quests I'm running, but in Heroics it had more of an impact of changing when I ran them. So I was stronger when I was running them, which was kind of nice. As far as the optional thing goes, I think the big thing with the optionals, to my understanding, was it was a concern from 20 to 30 to 20 to 30 to 20 to 30. That experience. Because if your 20 to 30 method was just running the same 5 quests over and over and over again, pretty quickly that optional experience gets down to the point where you're taking a lot of the XP out of those quests and why people run them. Quests that would normally be considered dailies, right? So Spies in the House, Vaughn 3, Tight in the chat saying also Vaughn 4. I don't think there's as much of an optional XP bump in that quest compared to the other two. But like,
yeah, you're right.
The optional, one of the reasons why those quests were really popular is because the optional XP was quite good. The way that they did is they ransacked it down to 0 regardless of time. They came back and made it so that when you did an epic reincarnation, your optionals ransack would clear, which I think was a good trade-off, because like, I respect the idea that if you're just going 20 to 30, right, like the things that don't reset, like your slayers, like that's a pretty big place where you get XP, or your first time quest XP for different things, that goes away pretty quick. And there are a lot of options for those things, but there's only so many. And, we just don't see come kill slayers with me in Demon Web, right? Like, you don't see slayer runs for that because it's not that lucrative for a variety of reasons. So I thought that was a pretty good place to land in the middle, personally. I did want to at least mention that part of it.
That particular change, yeah, like the two of you, had no effect on my game experience. But I will say that I think that them changing the level restrictions for Reaper mode, I think, was one of the best little features of the year. I love it. I love the fact that it brings back, in alignment, the people who want to elite streak with the people that want to do quests for maximum Reaper XP. Those groups were split when Reaper mode came out.
Right.
Now we're back together like one big happy family.
I would say that change, even more than the raid runes thing, this I think is, if you're gonna say one thing out of what's the one thing that impacted your play the most, I think it's the experience change, including the Reaper experience, and the Reaper experience change is part of the experience pass. I think that has the biggest impact in how I play the game.
The idea that they set out with when they did all this was to kind of like bring variety and also bring unity amongst player, but variety in content. I feel like they accomplished.
And I want to make a special mention that this really affected things for me in epics. Prior to this change, it was just like a waste of time to try to do epics for maximum Reaper XP. Trying to do Giant Hold on, mid skull at 24. I mean, that was brutal. But now that we can do it at level 28, like we're elite streaking, and still get maximum Reaper XP, that makes it viable and fun to do epic quests on Reaper for me.
Although I personally tend to skip them on my lives until we get to the legendary ones, but
yeah,
I mean, just because I can. But let me ask this: I know a lot of people would say dailies are dead. Do you guys have that experience? Because I feel like I still see LFMs for it.
I still do. I call them dailies, but I only do them once per life.
Sure.
Because they're great, quick XP, first time still.
But you're
bam.
also reincarnating.
Yeah. So like I said once per life. I feel like the people that got hurt the most are the ones who are so busy that they only have the time to run those group of quests once per day on epic hard, and they come back tomorrow and run those group. Those are the people that are probably are the ones that were like, oh, my optional XP, my feelings.
I've never been one to like run dailies, like to do the same quest every single day over and over and over, because that kind of grind just destroys the game experience for me. I can't stand it.
Sure.
So I
I
do
agree.
like the variety. There are definitely quests that I will hit routinely, but I'm not like, oh, I gotta do these 6 quests today. You know, it's 4 o'clock. I gotta do, tomorrow. It's 4 o'clock. I gotta. No way. That'll ruin the game experience for me.
Yeah, I always use the dailies to fill in things. Like if I was within 100K or something like that of a level, okay, I'll go hit a Spies in the House or something,
Mm-hmm.
just to get that next level. Things like that. I never really ran them heavily, and I don't feel like Mirror Darkly or Spies in the House. A lot of those are all that impacted by it. Um, I can see where Whiz King, in particular, the optional XP.
Yeah, that one has a lot of
really,
optionals in it.
yeah, but even like a Spies, I know Spies has the people you're free, everything like that. But I go in there and you run it on a hard or norm or something like that real quick. It's 5 to 8 minutes, and it's still 120K. Many runs in. So
Yeah, I definitely feel like there's an impact there, but I don't buy into the narrative that it killed dailies. I think it's kind of where I come back to. You're encouraged to run more quests in a life. I don't think that's a bad thing personally, and I think there's plenty of quests that people could run. Right, I've seen Grim and Barrett has become, I think, more of a daily for XP and less of a daily for Reaper XP option. Two-Toe Tobias is I've seen in a lot more daily circuits. If anything, I think the daily circuit has just expanded a little bit.
I agree with that.
That's kind of the change that I have seen. Again, not coming at it from a perspective of running a lot of dailies. What about the Epic Destinies, new Epic Past Lives? Has anyone gotten them all yet?
Got them all on Ginger Spice.
Yeah,
I've got a couple of the Arcane one, especially because I never really felt like there was a real great option for melee DPS sort of characters in the Arcane sphere.
You're talking about the one that gives MRR, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sign me up.
Yeah, I love it. I'm a past life grinder. I love the reincarnation system. Give me more past lives. 2 thumbs up.
More past lives would be fun.
Yeah, I'm working on my last grouping of them. Anytime they want to add more past lives, specifically epic past lives, I'm all for because of the passives. Like, yeah, give me more armor class, give me more PRR, give me more.
I would request that maybe they let me catch up because I was very bad about doing my reincarnations. I've been doing a lot better the last couple months and been doing more of them, but maybe give me like a year or two before you get crazy there with adding more past lives. We are getting alchemists, which is going to be 3 more lives for all of those completionist kind of people. Hi, puppy. So, anyone want to say anything about Sharn? I mean, the quests from Sharn I think are great. Mostly,
I just like the fact that they expanded the, Eberron to a different continent.
Sure.
They should have. This is something they should have done a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
I think the Sharn pack is definitely something good for the game, for the health of the game, frankly.
I think it's strategically brilliant that they chose Sharn because the Orient Light Rail from Sharn goes to every single major continent in the main Gallifrey. So like, if they want to, they're like, okay, Corvair's next. They have a reasonable story lore way to get there. They just give us an Orient Light Rail pass that goes to Corvair or any other place, New Seer or whatever, because we got Shard. It's strategically and story wise, it was the most soundest idea for an Eberron expansion ever.
I'm not sure where you lost me first when you said lore or started talking about all these names and places and things.
Well, you see, Sharn is part of. No, I'm just kidding. Sharn is a huge important city in Corvair Gallifrey, wherever you want to call it. Depends on what
That
decade
wasn't
and
an
number.
invitation to go farther into the lore.
You made Nimvin cry.
A little bit.
I
I
am
know.
blushing so bad right now. My career is over.
Nimvin loves his lore. I'm gonna say that I love Sharn. It is my
Mhm.
favorite expansion,
Really
and
interesting.
yeah, and that's
I think
saying a lot
Ravenloft's
because
still over Sharn for me.
you know Ravenloft is just a personal preference kind of thing in terms of like genre or
I think
flavor.
that's what it is
I'm
for
not
me.
into
It's so.
Gothic DDO personally, so that's why like they did a beautiful job.
Mhm.
It's just not my personal flavor.
Yeah,
I love
I can
Sharn.
see that.
And Menace of the Underdark will always have a very special place in my heart because I was playing DDO back then. It was our first expansion, huge deal. Druids came out. I love it. But yeah, now that we're over 6 months into Sharn, it is my favorite. I thought they did a beautiful job. I want to see them add more, fill out Sharn, add some houses, enclaves, add a external Slayer zone. I want more Sharn.
Sure. The thing for me was Sharn. Ravenloft is so different genre-wise, right, than everything else in the game. And but it still has a really solid place in Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like it's still very much a part of Dungeons and Dragons. Is that genre works really well. The Sharn one, kind of more of like a film noir genre, it didn't quite connect with me as much. It still felt very like aesthetically it was different, but like structurally it kind of felt very similar to a lot of the other stuff. I'm not sure why.
From a lore standpoint, that was intentional, and Keith Baker was very proud of this update. So I won't go into it just because I know.
I want to see your references on that. Asheras, I think you were trying to get in here.
Oh yeah, I was just saying I really like Sharn as well. I agree with what you're saying about the fact that it's basically the Waterdeep or the Greyhawk of Eberron, and at least that's as much as I know about it from the lore standpoint. And so to go to any one of those three places would be amazing. And I like it as a starting point for more content. One of the things I thought about Ravenloft was it felt more like an end point than a jumping off point, so to speak. And I know there are more Ravenloft modules and there's more you can do there. And I love the story, love the ambiance, but I am excited to see where they go with Sharn. And I think I kind of preferred the quests from Ravenloft a little bit better, I would say. But just the storyline there was more concise, probably because it was coming from a classic module pack. Whereas I didn't feel as invested in or in the Sharn story. And our end boss doesn't actually end up being in any of the raids, which was a little bit more limiting. But I love the raids we got with Sharn.
I love the anti-party, right? The guild, the Fallen Guild, and their end product Nemesis. That was really fun. I liked those characters. But yeah, the big bad, so to speak, was kind of anticlimactic. And I will say, the source sleds for me wore off very quickly.
Yeah, they when they leaked the source sleds thing, like we were like, oh my god, this is good. And then like it wasn't used in a lot of the quests, and when used, most people preferred to walk. So like the source sleds was kind of a missed shot, but lore wise, no, I was kidding.
I mean, it was fun the first two times, and then it became kind of a practicality thing of, holy cow, we are just in 2 dimensions. Players are really good at like spreading themselves out, right? And you can't find each other to help each other out and heal and all that stuff. You can watch DDOCast for evidence of that. Given 3 dimensions, right? Like suddenly it's so much harder.
Try cleaving something that's like technically on your brow, and so like it misses, and you're like, oh no, this makes no sense, does not compute, and then you end up dying just because you just misjudge elevation a slight.
kind of wonder.
Yeah, I like the source leads. I love
Oh, yeah?
Just Business. I like the fact that it puts me out of my comfort zone a little bit. It makes us, work for it a little bit harder. That it gives it a unique feel. And for people that are like, I hate source leads, you can walk. Go ahead.
Can.
You can do that in that
Yeah.
quest.
Yeah, no, I think it was a really solid pack. I would say it's their second best expansion.
Did you notice that the talking about Just Business, the girl that died, she's the quest giver for that harbor quest that leads into it.
Lost
Like,
at
I
Sea, and she also shows up in the Soul Splitter.
I'm loving that during this decade, NPCs story arcs are actually a thing now. Like Doris and the girl and all these NPCs, they actually come in to play as a part of a story arc. And me, I love story. Like it kind of. And I like that they're catering to that little small group of us that actually reads NPC stuff.
There was a lot of reading. I was gonna say, there were some quests there that it was a lot of reading.
Well, you can skip some of it if you know some of the lore of Sharn.
I mean, I can skip in the sense that I can get past it as fast as I can click, but when the option I'm selecting is half of my screen, that's a lot of reading. No, I like the story was fun. Like it was all fine. I like the story, and I think if we didn't have Ravenloft, this would be my favorite expansion, hands down. Like other than Just Business, I like all the quests. Other than, coming from perspective of having Ravenloft, that's so genre different. Sharn doesn't feel that. It feels like a more polished harbor market area to me. Let's say it's bad.
I think that ties into what Voodoo was saying, that we only got such a small part of Sharn, and Sharn's huge. There's like Sharn is like New York City, right? Where there's like little isles where there's like a whole like changeling part of like it's like Little Italy, but it's just for changelings and stuff. There's so much missing, and I don't know. I feel like that's also another. This is why I thought it was strategically sound for SSG, because if they want to do Sharn 2 expansion, they can open up another part of Sharn. If they want to take you to another country, they can, because Sharn allows you to.
Sure. I'm gonna kick Hardcore League into the next part. Anything else anyone wants to say about update 42 before we kind of we'll close out this show and hold off the rest of the show for the next time. All right. Voodoo, plug your stuff, man.
Well, you can find me on YouTube or Twitch at Vooduspyce, and on my YouTube machine, you can find over 850 quest videos, raid guides, crafting tutorials, and so much more. Live stream nearly every day on Twitch. You can watch us grind out our racial lives, and our, as already mentioned, our teaching raids on Sarlona for new players. If you're interested in getting involved in raiding, or maybe you're a returning player and you want to get caught up on raids you missed, or if you're a longtime veteran player and you just never got into raiding, these events are for you. I'm posting details in the Sarlona forum every week. This will go through the winter and spring.
Nimvind?
You can catch me on both as well YouTube and Twitch under Nimvind, and yeah, it's a great source of content that is probably not covered by Voodoo, because that's kind of what I wanted to do with those channels.
And also on your reoccurring person on D&D night as well.
Oh yeah, I play pen and paper for DDOcast and the DDO stream under many DMs, but Patrick being the most handsome. No, I'm joking. Sorry, Groovy.
Wow, I'm not sure where to take that. Arkat or Asheras, anything you guys want to give a shout out to here?
Just that Kasplat starts. We'll be playing this Wednesday night, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be fun. I before we head out, I do want to mention two things that I skipped in the news. Part of the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream, they talked about there is some more support, some more search features support, kind of in the design pipeline. They didn't give any details or timeline on that, but it is something they're looking at. Also, someone in the chat reminded me, they recognize that UI scaling is an issue, and it's something that they want to address, and they know that kind of needs to be addressed as screen resolution continues to go bigger. That is work that they want to do, but it's going to involve like a lot more work. They kind of have to rebuild, redesign some of that UI stuff from the ground up. Some people they reference Lotro in that, but Lotro was built a little differently and a little later with kind of that more in mind. So they do recognize that UI scaling is a thing that they do want to address.
And to add on top of that, PJ, if I may, the 64-bit client is also something they're looking at, which I think would give them the perfect opportunity to not only give us a 64-bit client, but also to do the UI scaling at the same time.
Which they did do the 64-bit for Lotro already, I believe.
Yes.
So
yeah, I did.
There you go. So that'll do it for this week on DDOCast. Thanks for listening to the show. Thanks to all these guys for joining me today. It's always a lot of fun to have them all on the show. And thanks to all the other contributors for DDOCast and Standing Stone Games and Wizards of the Coast for making DDO happen, and to Cyber Ears for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOcast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also hit us up at ddocast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. If you'd like to be part of the show, you can leave a comment. You can ask us a question. If there's a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, please send those in as well. Or if you just want to say hi, you can do that too. You can do that by leaving a comment, or you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. And you can also find us on social media and follow us for latest cast updates at DDOcast on Twitter is the best place to do that. So, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.